So here's the hilarious part. On the YouTube side, we've got all positive viewers and fans giving me great suggestions. On the Kick side, we've got a bunch of mouth-drooling idiots spamming the chat with nonsense, and I'm ignoring them all. Funny how that works, huh? Urban style individual.
What's up with y'all? Hopefully this video finds you in good spirits, and if not, well, at least you not DSP. And we all know that Phil has been on his marketing campaign as of late. You know, every time he go spend all his money on some junk, it got to be show and tell with Phil. We know that's coming. But Phil has this weird thing in his mind where he gets upset when you don't care about his toys as much as he does. It's crazy. So let's get into it.
And Misanthrope Gamer said, and I quote, "The upgrades are fascinating, Phil, not because they matter, but because you truly believe they do." So what he's saying is, oh, you did all these upgrades and none of it matters. Why are we talking about it? Because they do matter, because they actually affect the content in a big way.
Now, like I said, we know Phil's going to go on his marketing campaign, but what the guy in that super chat said was 100% true. Phil is trying to assign perceived value to these things because he knows that these things have no real value to the viewer. For the viewer, when they watch your streams, Phil, is more of the same. In fact, they may have even lost some things because your background is not as filled up as it used to be. And the only thing that changed aside from that is the mic being in a different place, slightly. So what can you really point to outside of these abstract things that you keep talking about that the viewer can actually see and say, you know what, it did get better?
People for years have criticized me and said, hey, you never are looking at the game and the chat at the same time. You get distracted and it screws everything up.
Who the hell said that? Now look, we know Phil likes to create counter arguments so he can argue with himself, because I don't think I've seen anyone say anything about they're having a hard time enjoying what he's doing because he can't look at the game and look at the chat. That's always been a complaint of yours, Phil. But once again, you're trying to put it on the audience. My goodness.
Can't you improve your setup? Yes, when I have the means. Well, now I have the means. I've done it. Oh, that doesn't matter. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't for years say improve the setup. Your setup's inferior. And then I do it and then say, oh, that didn't matter. Why did you waste time and money on it? It's toxic behavior.
Well, because that wasn't the premise. You're overgeneralizing so you can make a point. Nobody was saying that at the time, back in the day, that you had to have state-of-the-art equipment to do what you were doing. What they were saying is that the industry had moved forward, and it would be a better experience for the viewer if you used a capture card opposed to you just recording your screen. But at the time, you viewed what you were doing as superior, and it was easier for you, so you railed against it. Nobody was telling you to change everything in your so-called setup or your room. They were just saying change that.
I'm not going to have it. I'm not. So if you want to be toxic, you're in the wrong place. I'm going to call you out for being toxic and you're going to like it. That's reality. It's not that you just get to say and do whatever you want and be toxic to everyone around you and we're all supposed to be happy about it. If you're a toxic individual, I'll expose you as such. Right? Period. Now, Misanthrope Gamer did a second super chat of the same amount and said, hold on. Your upgrades always show how dedicated you are, Phil, even when the differences are too small to catch, but okay, that's toxic. Yes, it is. It is. It's toxic to say that I'm doing upgrades that are helping the setup, that are going to make my content better, but they don't matter and no one notices them. It's toxic. Yeah.
No, Phil, it's the truth. And we're not saying that you did not upgrade your setup. It's obvious that you did. We're saying that the changes that you made from the viewer's experience are so negligible that they're not even worth mentioning. And I think that's a fair statement to make. And I think you know that that's a fair statement to make. And that's why you're reacting like this.
Yes, it's toxic behavior. It doesn't matter that you're putting $5 on it when you say it. It's still toxic. Anyone will tell you this. And then you did another super chat of the same amount.
Dude was cooking, wasn't he? Now, y'all know, you know my philosophy. You give Phil money, you a dent. All right. So I gotta just let you know right now, you and Dan, whoever you was that was doing this, but I will give you credit for how you framed everything because you got dude spazzing. So I mean, hey.
One does not hate in others what one is not capable of seeing in oneself. Huh?
Now I want you to pay attention to how Phil responded to this initially. He responded like what the dude said was something dumb. It was silly, like it was beneath him. And all the guy was saying was, in order for you to recognize things, a part of that has to be within you. Because how else would you be familiar with it? That's all they were saying. That doesn't mean that that's you all the time, but all of us to a certain extent have some greed in us, some laziness in us. Maybe sometimes we can be an asshole, whatever, but that's not us all the time. So therefore, we're not defined by those things. That's you all the time, Phil. That's why you're defined by those things. See the difference?
I'm not criticizing other people's setup. I'm not going to someone else's stream and throwing money at them to sneak diss them. That's you. What would I see in myself? I'm not doing that. I'm on my own content doing meaningful stuff for my audience, and I'm done wasting time on you. Thanks for the super chats. Now shut up.
He completely missed the point, didn't he? You see how Phil had to format it in order to justify his view on what the guy was saying? He was saying, I'm on my own stream. I'm not in somebody's chat saying something to the streamer about their setup. Sure, it wasn't that scenario, Phil, but there's plenty of times where you have spoke ill of other people's setup. RTU, LTG comes to mind, and I'm sure there's some others that I'm missing. So let's not act like that's not something that you haven't done before. On the contrary, you've done it quite often, Phil. So what are you talking about?
So here's the hilarious part. On the YouTube side, we've got all positive viewers and fans giving me great suggestions. On the Kick side, we've got a bunch of mouth-drooling idiots spamming the chat with nonsense, and I'm ignoring them all. Funny how that works, huh?
See, but that's not what ignoring means. I've touched on this before, Phil, with your smug face. When you ignore something, we won't even know you did it because that's how ignoring actually works. You keep acknowledging Kick chat, Phil. And Kick is a little bit of a blessing and a curse, right? Because we know that he get paid per viewer or whatever the metric is, right? So he tolerates what goes on there. But the flip side to that is now he has to tolerate trolls. And what this acts as is a detractor Twitter feed essentially for Phil in real time. So he's directly plugged into all the latest memes and the narratives that's going on in the detractor community. And he has to hold himself together while seeing this stuff constantly. So it's a blessing and a curse. It's a double-edged sword.
And they still haven't figured it out that I'm ignoring them because they're just a bunch of little children, the trolls who farm the content and wanted me to play Truck Sim. The Waller says, you think this is good attendance? You mean right now? Well, right now we have over 300 viewers on YouTube. How many do we have on Kick? Because again, I still haven't figured out a way to really look on Kick. How many viewers do we have on Kick? We have 141 viewers on Kick. Yeah. No exaggeration, I have consistently doubled my attendance on my content. I used to only get maybe between 100 to 200 on the podcast. And if I was lucky, 100 on Kick. And now we have double that. So yeah, this is good attendance for me, for sure.
Sure, it's good attendance for you, but it's not merit based. It's not something that you did. It was somebody throwing you a bone. And realistically speaking, if we look at the numbers, it's not really translating into your streams. It's just not. You got like 7,000 plus new subscribers. But when you look at your numbers, for the most part, outside of your spikes, they're pretty much back to baseline, Phil. And that's just the truth. But you yourself said you don't really care about viewership. You said that countless times. You care only about what is supported. So we know that you're not after viewership. You're after money. So in the grand scheme of things, what you just talked about means nothing.
100%. This is great attendance. I'm enjoying the increased attendance. Okay, the Waller says, yes, I'm new. I actually don't know what's good. This is great. And again, here's what I'll say, everyone right now. If you're a longtime viewer, thanks. If you're a newcomer who's only joined me in the last couple of weeks since the Asmongold thing, thanks. I'm having a great time. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm having a great time with all of you. We're enjoying games. We're having chill vibes. What it is, we're in a time of transition. My set is changing. The game's lineup is changing. Things like this truck sim nonsense, right?
You see how Phil tried to make it seem like what he's doing is transitioning a business from one to the other, or like taking an entire engine out of a car and putting it into another. Phil, you're talking about playing a different damn game, bro. He think because he got a new mic arm and he about to play a different game that his so-called business is going through some huge transitionary period. Isn't it so funny the way he theory crafts and makes up things in his mind that he can hold on to so he can feel better about his situation? It's just crazy.
It's all changing for the better. Understand, this is improvement. This is weeding out the crap that's not working, starting up new things that are working, listening to your feedback and doing the right stuff. This is all getting better. And I'm really appreciating all of you that are here for the ride. I'm having a great time. Okay. So thank you. Great stuff.
Phil, the ride is over, man. The ride is over. And we're going to get into this here in a little bit. But for I'm to understand, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a dent named Buckwell who, I guess through loose affiliation with the Keno Casino, decided that he was going to fund the American Truck Simulator streams for Phil. And he was the one that was, I guess, single-handedly keeping things afloat for a good while there. Now, you see that once Buckwell has withdrawn himself from Phil, look what's been happening with the money situation. It hasn't been the same, right? Now, what's interesting about the whole Asmongold thing, am I saying that new people didn't come in and give him pity bucks? They absolutely did. But this was also an opportunity for the Dents to super well out under the guise of new roaches coming in. And a lot of them were doing that. But you see now that once again, even though he has an influx, a lot of what is sustaining him is his legacy Dents. And if he does not have a good control over them, he's going to suffer. And that is what we've been seeing as of late.
You guys aren't talking that much, but you feel free to, especially if you're on the YouTube side. That's more of the place where we have the active, positive conversation. I'm going to be honest, the kick side right now is really toxic because they're really, really upset I'm not playing Truck Sim anymore. I know that sounds stupid because it is, but it's bad. Like, they really today are so toxic today, and they're still continuing, which is why I'm not really talking to them. If they would actually act like normal people, maybe I would care, but they're really acting bad today.
Now you see how he's trying to tie the failure of the trucking simulator game to detractors, when the truth is it's just a rogue dent. But this guy was sustaining you for months, Phil, from April all the way up until what, a few weeks ago, or no, really a few days ago, right? Now all of a sudden he's a detractor. Like I said, man, you just cannot make this stuff up.
Really appreciate anyone who comes by and supports my content, and the early support before I even start with the game is great. Exactly right. My Ruin says, good riddance to bad rubbish. A select few should never dictate your stream. Just because they spend big bucks, let them seethe. And that's exactly what they're doing. Trust me. They're so upset that they don't have control over stuff anymore, and that I now have control of my own destiny. They don't want that. Well, too bad. Tough. That's reality. So either you deal with reality or leave. It ain't going to change because you're angry and you're upset and you're seething. Things are good.
But that's not true, Phil. Because like I said before, ever since Buckwell seems to have withdrawn from you, your streams have been suffering. Now, to your credit, you have been trying to hold yourself together now better than you have in the past. I'll give him credit for that, right? But you can tell that there is a lot of simmering and a lot of posturing going on underneath that he's trying to hold in. And it's going to come out because he needs Buckwell. He needs every single well that he can get, because now more than ever, he's starting to realize that, damn, I just got the rub from the biggest dude on my platform. And a week and a half, 2 weeks later, all I have to show for it is a bunch of junk that I don't need. But none of it has really translated into a new audience because nobody's really watching my stuff, quote unquote, on demand. And I'm not making money on streams. What happened, Phil?
There was a lot of hoopla that first few days when the Asmongold crowd came to the streams, and now that's kind of petered down a bit. So I don't know if everyone's as gung-ho for Expedition 33 as they were 2 weeks ago, and if it would work or not. What do you guys think?
You know what's crazy about this? He squandered this from so many perspectives. You were supposed to play Expedition 33 Day 2, Phil. Out the gate, you were supposed to play that. Now you have to ask once again if that's something that'll quote unquote work, meaning will you pay me to play it? All of a sudden, that's where we are now. And this is why I say this dynamic between him and his viewership is so crazy. Could you imagine if you had something happen in your house, right? Your HVAC system was having issues or something like that, and they had somebody come out and look at it, and he comes off the ladder, and the first thing he does is look at you and say, well, what do you think I should do? I mean, what are you going to say to him? You're going to probably tell him to leave and probably going to call somebody else, right? But with Phil, he believes that this is normal behavior. He believes that the interaction that he has as a quote unquote entertainer with his viewership is somehow supposed to be like this. And he doesn't understand that how weird this actually is, Phil. This is not symbiotic. He believes he's giving them something in return, but it's really parasitic. It's very one-sided.
I keep getting asked questions about Asmongold. You guys have to understand, I don't watch Asmongold's content, and I don't talk with him behind the scenes. So you would know better than me what's going on with Asmongold. Like, people keep saying, hey, are you going to do any content with him, or is he going to do that podcast? I don't know. He knows how to contact me if he's interested in doing anything. It's not upon me to try to step in and be like, hey, let's do something together. He's the big dog here, not me. So if he's going to do that podcast and he's interested in having me on, 1,000,000%, I would love that. But that's that's his choice. It has nothing to do with me.
That was Phil's way of actionizing his viewership to go beg Asmongold to have Phil on his so-called podcast that he claims he's going to start. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to start it or not, but you cannot convince me at all that Phil has not been in his DMs to some degree asking him about that podcast. Phil needs that next stimmy check, bro. He's fiending for it. He's starving for it. Things have dried up far quicker than he imagined. I know in his mind, he's thinking to himself, damn, I shouldn't have went this far in because I can't go backwards, because everything he does is predicated on what the detractors think, say, and do. So he's stuck right now. He has to play out this character that he created for himself 2 weeks ago, and he's not familiar with it. All this stuff is new to him, and it's ironic because, like I said, it's like he actually at a real job where you have to put your face on and tell bad jokes and act like everything's okay, even though sometimes you want to choke people. But we can't do that because we're civilized. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Urban style content. I'm dead.